my microphone. That's
So, have you back there?
Huh?
Testing, testing.
Hello, hello. Hello. Something on that there.
Testing, testing.
That's not near good enough. Who can adjust the sound level on this stuff? Mine's okay.
Testing, testing.
That's not even heard. Okay, everybody. It's time to philosophize. As soon as we get our mics set up here. Big crowd today. Hey, it's a gorgeous day outside. Why the hell are all you people here? Bad decision. Bad decision.
Sorry.
If anybody wants to get on the video, come stand up here.
Oh, I think I will.
Okay, welcome everybody. How many first timers we have today? Are you all here because Drake invited you? Drake, oh, he paid you. That's one way to get an audience. I hope he paid you well.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me back there?
Better.
Better? So,
Okay, well, welcome everybody. First things first, who was here last week? We had a bad week on cell phones. I heard 3 or 4 go off. If you need help turning your cell phone off, works every time. Now, as soon as I say that, guess who bought a cell phone for the first time?
You.
I have a situation at home that if I get a call, it's an emergency. So if my cell phone goes off, I'm okay. I'm gone, but I'm okay. But I don't want anybody else to go, who expects an emergency call in the next hour and a half? Nobody. So I shouldn't hear anybody's cell phone go off but mine, and I don't want to hear mine go off. Okay. We've already had one issue with our club distribution list. How many people get the weekly email with coming attractions?
Occasionally. It's iffy.
How many don't but want to?
How many do not but want to?
You don't get it, but you'd like to get it. Send an email to the guy who runs our club distribution list is Ira. So if you send an email to Ira, I-R-A, at, you know the at sign, Techie, TECHIE.com, and you don't have to say much, just say, Philosophy Club email. He theoretically will put you on our list. Like I say, we've had one complaint today that it so far hadn't worked, but hopefully.
It seems to be inconsistent for me, like 1 week I'll get it and 1 week I won't.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has that problem.
Mine comes in the junk file. But I check those.
It's not in the junk, mine definitely is not in the
I
junk.
get it, and then I got one.
Well, I can't explain that. Because, I get it every week, whether I want it or not. But anyhow, that's all I can tell you. Send him an email. He will theoretically put you on the list, and then if you don't get it, keep coming back and harping at us. Need the mic? So we can all hear you? Okay, coming attractions. I know Mark Welton is not here. Next week, Mark Welton, our lawyer from the Army, is going to talk to us about the rule of law in the United States. We've talked about Afghanistan and we've talked about other places, but next week we're going to talk about what's the state of the rule of law in this country. Should be an interesting discussion. And in 2 weeks, our philosopher lawyer is going to talk to us. He's going to put Jesus on trial.
Good afternoon. I am very excited to present to you a different way of thinking about Jesus of Nazareth. Imagine that you are members on a civil jury trial, okay? And let's say it's a personal injury trial, and there's the plaintiff who was hurt in a car accident, and then there's the defendant, and allegedly the defendant ran a red light. So you have defense counsel and plaintiff's counsel, and each will be using their trial advocacy skills, calling witnesses, introducing evidence, demonstrative exhibits into evidence, and so on, to convince you, to try to persuade the jury that the light was either green or red. Okay, plaintiff's counsel and defense counsel. We're going to do the same thing. You're going to be on a jury, but instead of whether the light is red or green, the issue is going to be, did the resurrection take place historically? Did it really happen? We're approaching this not from the point of view of faith or being a believer or a disbeliever, but what facts or evidence exists in the scriptures that plaintiff's counsel and defense counsel presenting it to you, members of the jury, that the resurrection did take place or it did not. Thank you. You can applaud now.
Well, I was going to give you a warning. That was his 10-second version of what's coming. So you can imagine how long his trial is going to take. Lawyers must be paid by the word. That's all I can figure.
Leader runs.
Okay, today, one we're all looking forward to. I won't ask now, I'll ask later how many people believe in conspiracy theories, but our famous homeschooler is going to teach us all we ever want to know, and probably more than we wanted to know, about conspiracy theories. So, Drake, you are on, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Y'all all hear me back there?
Pick up your mic, pick up your mic,
Pick up my mic. Yeah.
push it up.
Push it up.
There
Can
you
you
go.
hear me back there? Is that better? Are we clear to go? Okay, thank you. Today I'm going to tell you about a number of conspiracy theories that people around the world believe in and relate to some of my experiences with some fringe groups here in the villages that support them. Free speech is what makes a democracy possible. However, speech that is hateful, full of outright deception, falsehoods, lies, and used to influence weak-minded or emotionally vulnerable seniors is called fraud. By whistleblowing, I wish to expose this senior fraud to protect our fellow neighbors who go to these clubs like the 2012 Club, Thrive Club, Astrologers of the Villages, Ghost Stories Club, Parapsychology Club, the Edgar Casey Club, Enneagram Club, UFO Club, and the Exopolitics Club, seeking catharsis. In some cases, common community standards about decency that we hold dear here have been replaced by vapid, malicious, racist, spiteful propaganda. This presentation is addressed to those who come to the villages seeking refuge from loss, grief, personal pain, and loneliness. And fringe groups offer no hard-nosed proof or direct evidence, wild and over-emotional theories, melodramatic cliches, fantastic claims of government cover-ups, alien intervention, no reasonable or rational explanations. The world is mysterious, so assume the incredible. An alternate reality with bizarre outcomes, and all these attributes: paranoia, distrust, panic, fear, collusion, anxiety, and conspiracy. So today we're going to be talking about people who believe in the flat earth, a hollow earth, ancient civilizations, aliens and UFOs, exopolitics, the moon landing, Scientology, astrology, New Age remedies like crystals, genetically modified organisms, and vaccines. So is it fake, fact, or just flake? So people believing in these bombastic, sensational, tacky, tabloid mentality, pseudoscience conspiracies base their decisions using mainly the right side of the brain that control intuition and emotions. However, the left side of the brain that controls logic, practicality, and rational thinking is mainly not utilized and left rotting in the basement. Therefore, stories about ghosts, aliens, flying saucers, and unproven New Age remedies create a weird, macabre fantasy vortex with alternate facts that distorts reality, creating paranoia. And if you don't believe, you are the enemy. First up is the Flat Earth Society, as they believe the Earth is flat. 2% of the American public, or 10% of Americans, think this is true, and that the sun and moon all revolve around a flat Earth. And that people of Flat Earth have members all around the globe. But what's going on here? They think the Earth is flat, and this must be so. The United Nations logo confirms this. And it looks like a giant wedge. And it looks like this. You're probably asking where the water goes. I think there's a giant gutter that goes around here to catch it. And here's the sun and the moon orbiting this, the flat Earth. All the other planets in the solar system are round except ours. And ours looks like kind of like a cufflink. Right here. Now what's going on here is that a plot concerning NASA, who manipulates computer graphics, convince us otherwise. Anybody or organization who disagrees with this society's views is branded as satanic. So this is all a plot to create a fake globe, fake space, and fake moon to have a pancake-shaped Earth. Of course, the Earth is round. Anybody who doesn't think so really belongs to the Flat Brain Society. And my comment about this is really no comment. Next up is the hollow Earth theory that postulates there's a mini Earth inside our Earth, complete with oceans, continents, islands, a sun, and human-like creatures who reside there. There are huge portals in the North and South Pole to gain access to it. Advanced races of humans live there in a utopian, idyllic society. Long-haired, thin, fair-skinned women who wear long robes and heroic-looking, well-built men in Prince Valiant-looking outfits with melodramatic poses populate this society. This inner Earth contains all kinds of drama, like waterfalls, dramatic vistas, impressive cities with fantastic soaring architecture, and is an illustrator's dreams come true, and how you get there are these giant portals in the North and South Pole. And kind of looks like this. There's an Earth inside our Earth. Looks like this. Here is a portal access. And it has these vistas like this to get in. And this world inside our world then has continents, oceans, archipelagos, islands, forms like lakes and rivers, and even has names for them. So, as they invite us, we live inside. Drop in and see us. And this is what this might look like on the inside, is what they believe in. And both sides. And here are the portal access right here to get in and to go out. And this was all written in 1864, the science fiction scenario by Jules Verne in his book, Journey to the Center of the Earth. We all know that the Earth has a crust, mantle, and core. And the further one gets into the core, the hotter it is, between 5,000 and 7,000 degrees. This is why rock melts inside our Earth, causing subduction and plate tectonics, which is continental drift. Plus, a dynamo is caused inside the Earth, making electrical currents, causing a magnetic field possible to protect our atmosphere against damaging solar winds. A hollow Earth is simply not true, but a very emotional, ignorant person would disagree. After all, what we can't see below our feet must be mystical, magical, and inspiring, looking like drawings in the Tolkien Hobbit books, and must be believed. And moving on, in June of 2017, I went to a 2012 club meeting here, and there was a presentation called Pyramid Building 101. I was trying to get precise data and professional opinions on ancient Egypt as I was preparing a lecture. What instead I got was a lecture by a well-meaning and articulate man who told an audience of 8 how ancient pyramids were constructed using another advanced civilization's ideas, tools, and help. We were told these ancient Egyptians got needed assistance from members of the lost continent of Atlantis, which was somehow once located in the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a pictorial of it. You'll notice the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. When I asked the presenter how this came about, this continent, well, he said that Plato mentioned this 2,400 years ago. And that the Egyptians not only needed assistance because they were technologically not advanced, but the pyramids, 2.3 million carefully arranged 2,500 stone blocks were put in place by quartz crystals like this, and the one at the table there that I have there, which we'll get into, that levitated them into position by these Atlanteans. Also, the pyramids have secret passageways and rooms still undetected to this day to internally move these stone blocks thousands of years ago. No details, proof, illustrations, videos, or pictures were provided at all. We were also informed that the Sphinx was built 1,000 years earlier than previously believed and was not modeled after Pharaoh Khafre, who lived 2,500 years, lived 2,500 BC, which all scholars believe in. And it was really modeled after him. Rather, instead, the Sphinx is aligned with faraway star constellations with cosmic consequences, built as a shrine for other mysterious reasons, and has different access points and even has different subterranean chambers still undiscovered to this day, despite thousands of years of checking this out. And it has these kind of secret passageways which do not exist. No one has found any references. And no proof of substance was again provided about this. And those magnificent, awe-inspiring, multi-ton obelisks the ancient Egyptians were noted for were not put up by this kind of method, that is, hundreds of men pushing it up, maybe a ramp with logs, because the Egyptians did not invent the wheel, and placed in a hollow part of the in a section here of the earth. Rather, instead, these multi-ton obelisks were put up by parachutes that placed them into place. No specific details were given, but rather a lot of hot air. We know the pyramids in Egypt were built and designed by hand by the people living there. It maybe took between 20 and 40 years for each pyramid, and roughly 30,000 men to cut, move, and place these blocks for the main pyramid. In other words, blood, sweat, and tears. And that these were the tools the Egyptians used to be able to cut these stones and put them into place. And at the inside the pyramid, there are some chambers with air shafts. This is the entranceway to get into them, and you can go inside and climb these kind of stairs inside to get to the king's chamber, which has a sarcophagus there. And we were told that these ancient people from the Atlanteans came here and did that. This was their city. But I thought people, Atlanteans were people who lived in the city of Atlanta, or there's the Atlantis resort in the Bahamas, and if you mispronounce it, it becomes Mylanta, the anti-gas relief medication, which is another lot of hot air. So all this was told me as fact, not opinions, even when questioned vigorously. Additionally, the presenter read aloud a poem waxing nostalgically about ancient mythical Atlantis, and was so emotional his voice broke. What was presented to me concerned irrational, wishful thinking, using gushing, sweeping emotions and hyperbole with no evidence. Fantastic claims require fantastic proof. With these radical, unorthodox views, then one cannot hold or be respected in traditional science jobs like archaeology, geology, cultural anthropology, biology, chemistry, and related fields. But retired people living here giving these kind of lectures can have this luxury, as there are no professional work consequences to contend with. Truth, logic, and veracity are readily sacrificed for cheesy, shock and awe statements designed to hook in unsuspecting and naive villagers. Now, let us find out about this by taking a quartz crystal here and having a power source, and here's the quartz crystal, and trying to levitate a simple pencil. Clearly it hasn't moved yet. We'll give it a little bit more time. We'll get back to quartz crystals also, but I just wanted to show you that. That's the experiment we're doing. If you're going to say something, this is called the put up or shut up experiment. If this works, I close my computer and then you guys go home. If it doesn't, you have to listen to me. Thinking our culture or other ones are more superior to the host country where such historical world-class monuments were built is called cultural entitlement. Publicly asserting these ancient Egyptians didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the technology to do it, they were kind of stupid, so other civilizations had to step in and help them out. They needed assistance. Well, if so, then have the guts enough to go to Tahrir Square in downtown Cairo and in Arabic telling this crowd there in Tahrir Square that their ancient ancestors didn't have the wherewithal, whatever it took, to build these fantastic monuments. See how far you get doing that. And deal with these kind of people. Or go to Guatemala City in Guatemala, or the Honduran capital, or in the Yucatan, and tell the people there that their ancient ancestors who built these particular monuments didn't have what it took to build these things either. That they didn't have any wherewithal either. Really, the simplest explanation tends to be the right one. So if you're going to publicly assert these things, don't go to a small room here in the villages and say things to 5 people. Instead, specifically, go to the place where these things are located and see how well you do there. And by extension, then, our founding fathers did not have a clue about how to create a democratic nation. Rather, aliens helped them too, which will come up soon. Conspiracy theories have a misinterpretation of events that leads to a special condition where truth and fantasy collide. And we see what we wish to see. Instead of an Egyptian looking at a vase on a pedestal, it becomes an alien. This is called pareidolia, and it's a condition where defined as a tendency to impose a meaningful interpretation of an object or pattern when in fact there is none. Like a pretend whale in the sky, angry green peppers, a rabbit in the moon, or a chicken building. This even goes further. Speaking of chickens, is it an angry chicken or just a chicken for dinner? A saw, slippers, they always look so upset, and a butt on a tree, and an angry robot with a gun. So there's a misinterpretation. This goes even further and into astronomy. And in 1976, Viking picked up this picture, which looks like a face on the moon. When we had better cameras, it became just a landform. So this became just a landform. What was on Mars used to be thought of having canals, but we needed a better telescope with better resolution. And the same thing on Mars with pareidolia. You have a crater with some further craters in it and a stream running, and it becomes a smiley face. Or a Buddha statue on the moon, evidence of aliens there, or a pyramid on the moon, or any kind of bizarre creature. And the same thing applies to Noah's Ark, where they think this landed in Mount Ararat in far western Turkey. Mount Ararat is a volcano that the last time erupted was 180 years ago and has erupted many times in the past and does leave strange landforms. But this is a recent landform, but it looks like the outline of what could be a ship there. Again, pareidolia. And This actually relates to us out here. Why, a man came out here, Dr. Carl Baugh, 2 years ago, came to the Whitney Baptist Church and told about his exciting expedition to Mount Ararat in search of Noah's Ark and how dinosaurs and other creatures could all fit on the ark. Of course, dinosaurs and man are separated by 65 million years. But this is how this comes up. And of course, Mr. Baugh works with the Creation Evidence Museum in Nowhere, Texas. Okay, this all leads to the Holy Grail, and probably why many of you are here, of conspiracies, aliens. They are portrayed as small, skinny, frail, white, otherworldly creatures with no hair, no eyes, no noses, big heads, and huge eyes. And they've come from faraway star systems and spaceships to infiltrate or spy on our society. Well, just like you, I got some questions about this. Number one, why are they white? Can they be white? Can they be dark? Can they be brown or black? Why are they so skinny? Are there such things as fat aliens? Do they need glasses because of their eyes? What do they eat? What do they eat for energy? Do they eat cat food or ramen noodles? What do they eat? And what about their private parts? We never get to see them. What do they got down there, an INSEE or an OUTSEE? We don't know. It's never shown. And about that alien, do they have alien sex? If so, I'd like to get photos of those. That. So they're always portrayed this way, as really, they are really an extension of us. Do they ever need knee replacements? Do they watch Netflix? Do they take medication? I have all these questions. What was once considered an alien used to look like this. And about alien abductions, well, how come only the dumbest people get abducted by aliens with no proof at all? So this alien must have landed in Fargo, North Dakota, because he needs all this. At least he was smart about that. I wonder what they're talking about. Anyways, so this happens. Okay. And we get these ideas from old science fiction TV dramas and movies. For instance, like the X-Files, Fringe. Remember back then, the Invaders, when we were growing up? X-Men movies. So we get these old cliches from this, telling us the truth is really out there. To answer these questions, we look no further than 2-bit illustrations, doctored photos, dreamy celestial events, or misinterpreted phenomena, and a willingness to suspend our logic and reasoning. I was told by the pyramid presenter that aliens 400,000 years ago came here from the 12th planet called Nibiru, which has a long, eccentric 3,600 mile elliptical orbit around Earth. 3,600 years around Earth. And it comes whizzing near space, near Earth. And these aliens from Nibiru have helped our ancient cultures and are waiting out in spaceships to send more here, even though this has never been detected by tens of thousands of astronomers for all these years. So, of course, Nibiru was supposed to crash into us in, of course, the year 2012, because that's when the Mayan calendar runs out. This never happened. So what I want to ask is, suppose, it's such an easy word to pronounce, Nibiru. Suppose that this planet had 18 different consonants that no one could pronounce. Then what? And with an elliptical orbit that's this far, that goes out this far from Earth, any precocious middle schooler would tell you that the sun would be so distant, it would be just a speck in the sky, would provide no light or heat for their 3,600 year orbit around the sun, and would be a frozen world, would be 400 degrees below zero, and would contain frozen methane and nitrogen and no life. A writer in the 70s called Zach Station decided to popularize this. Of course, his books have no pictures on it, just dramatic, colorful drawings. And it looks like this. And Mr. Sessions claimed that an argument is true or false based on the lack of truth. Well, of course, these aliens had to come out here by some method. So let's go into UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena pictures. If one cannot explain a mysterious occurrence in our skies, then the very next step is to label it as a flying saucer with aliens controlling it. The simplest answer or explanation to a mystery then is replaced with silly, unproven, fanciful, convoluted, sixth-grade sci-fi cliches. And looks like this, and looks like this, and looks like this. So you say, what are UFOs? They're a hole in our thinking. We do not know, but to assume the fantastic is overkill. And the most famous one is the Tic Tac video that looks like this in the sky. Was it an alien or a naval project? We'll never know. So cheap B movie saucers and rockets take the place of anything as not yet explained or rationally explained. UFOs are usually spotted by white males in remote areas. Well, so I went to the 2012 club meeting and they talked just 3 months ago in June. And they said these spaceships are powered by an element called europium, which is a xenon tetrafluoride derivative. Europium has a half-life of 220 milliseconds. So that by the time you pronounce the first syllable of this product, of this element, it doesn't exist. It's a man-made element, but it sounds good if you don't know much and don't want to spend the time to look on Wikipedia for a second. So this actually happened in real life, all these scenarios. And in 1998, a man named Marshall Applewhite, who operated a religious group based on UFOs called Heaven's Gate, was involved in this. He was arrested earlier in life for credit card fraud, and even had himself castrated once. In 1997, 39 people in his cult committed suicide by drinking vodka laced with barbiturates in Rancho Santa Fe, California. Here are their bodies. They were trying to abandon their earthly bodies to rendezvous with a spaceship that was traveling near or paralleling the comet Hale-Bopp. Each member carried $2.30 for passage on this ship. Okay, so changing gears a bit, but still in the same vein, the Villages has an exopolitics group that meets monthly here. And this all leads to exopolitics, a large systematic conspiracy theory society that believes extraterrestrial life, along with advanced otherworld technologies, have infiltrated our society, government, political institutions, and even Hollywood actors. Simply put, morally misaligned aliens have come to Earth in human disguise and are now in collusion running our government. And the Villages has this exopolitics club that I met in May in Laurel Manor. And I attended this meeting and was given by an articulate lady our age with 4 others in attendance. I quietly took notes as she spoke off the cuff for an hour about deeply disturbing, inane, outlandish, and outright nauseating, psychotic, wide-ranging conspiracy theories. These theories concerned rape, murder, torture, kidnapping, abductions, blood drinking, hallucinogenic drugs, clone replacements of politicians with no proof or evidence given. Her ideas presented were so shocking that I called the FBI National Tip Line to report possible hazy, sketchy threats and innuendos about children, politicians, and tearing the fabric that all of you have worked so hard to be proud of. We were informed that an elite and secret society organization called the Illuminati formed in the mid-1770s in Bavaria, Germany. And they wanted to take control and dominate it to make a world totalitarian government. Powerful people then, belonging to select families, have tried to make a new world order for 270 years, and then and now are deeply entrenched in our government, politics, banking, business, and religions. The Freemasons are involved in this satanic plot with their pyramid triangle symbols everywhere, which we'll get into. And they had secret hand signals like Napoleon used, Stalin, George Washington, Hitler, and the rest. So this is how we know that they existed, from what she told me. And that our founding fathers and current governments, plus all foreign governments, have been infiltrated by the Illuminati. Their vast worldwide controlling menacing presence is the reason behind all wars, the French Revolution, poverty, the IRS, and global misery. I was told the Ashkenazi Jews from Germany, in central Germany, were part of a Zionist plot tied in with Freemasons to influence the Illuminatis and create world disorder. Now let me take a moment to tell you something that's personal with me. My mom was a soloist in Jewish temples. I had Jewish friends growing up in grade school, in college, and in adult life. My parents knew Jewish people, and I even had crushes with Jewish girls in school. So when you tell me, when I hear this about Jewish people causing problems, this means that this is a hate group, and there's no room for that here. And I say about the hate, about the Jewish people, then go to Temple Shalom, which is located 4 miles northeast of here on CR 101 in Oxford, and tell the congregation, that is, have enough guts to tell the congregation that their ancestors from Bavarian Germany are still involved in manipulating and controlling our government in evil ways, and see how far you get. Failure to not go there is called cowardice. Moving on, the Illuminati symbols include the triangle, which we will find out is really on the back of the dollar bill. And that's how you know the Illuminatis are still around. Let's go further into this, why this is involved in hand signals, even between slices of bread, and even on Peyton Manning's forehead, of all things. And that there's a Bermuda Triangle, evidence of the Illuminati, fin on a dolphin, and the satanic symbol 666, sign of the devil, Satan again, is embedded in Walt Disney's signature, if you look very closely, and Procter & Gamble's logo sign on their products. And is involved in all kinds of aspects, and even in Microsoft advertising. And if you saw the film National Treasure, this kind of sort of explains it. So the Illuminati is present everywhere. And it must be kind of hard living this kind of life, having these kind of symbols everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's triangles. So, and then she changed gears and talked about that instead of the Titanic hitting an iceberg that it did in 1911, that there were 3 men on it who were influential bankers, Levi Strauss, Guggenheim, and John Jacob Astor. And that in order to get rid of them, the Illuminatis planted a bomb on the Titanic, and that's what made it sink. And to further complicate matters, just when you thought it was going good, I was informed that evil shape-shifting lizard-like people from the Draco star system, 300 light years away, have come here and have infiltrated our government, institutions, and have replaced politicians and are embedded in our culture, such as the movie industry. And that they look like this, shapeshifters that are reptilian. I was informed these shapeshifters also conveniently look like Romulans from the Star Trek series, or are reptilian in form with lizard-like heads. And in order to look human-like and young-looking, they drink a special concoction called adrenochrome, which is blood taken from tortured infants and drank by these creatures to look human and look young. It's really a silver oxide derivative. And this was actually made up in a film called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, with a man using this kind of adrenochrome and taking it. So, and what this means is that the blood is taken then from infants that are kidnapped, or kids that you see missing on milk cartons back in the day. When in reality, these kids are really taken by their parents and dramatic custody disputes. But that's where the children are taken, and that's why they're missing. And missing children, again, are then taken by these reptilian creatures to get blood from them. And this goes further, that my mouth fell open as a woman told of thousands of children are taken from the Mexico-U.S. border where they are congregating, at least for a while now, and they are taken and put on maglev trains, and in 2 hours they are whisked to army bases underground or to the evil city of Wuhan, China, where the epicenter of evil exists. There, in Wuhan and other places, the people there's human body harvesting going on, blood taken away, and this was done in other sci-fi movies and situations like The Matrix. Right here, this is where the main character is having his blood taken from him and used and farmed to use by aliens. It's also brought up in the X-Files movies, again, the Invaders, and as you notice in Soylent Green, dystopian society for the year 2022. So this is where these ideas really come from, generated by this. You guys remember that freighter that was stuck in the Suez Canal in the spring? Well, that was full of children being kidnapped. And it was stuck there, though, for 3 months. But however, if you stay in a container for about 2 hours, ship container, you will die because you will not have oxygen and run out. But if it's a fantastic scenario, it was brought up. And in order to look young, celebrities take them also. These kind of celebrities here, if you do not take adrenochrome, then you end up looking like this, an old hag. And these characters take it, and the woman next to me, that's sitting next to me, she said to the presenter, "Do you mean even Tom Selleck takes it?" And the presenter said yes, and the woman went, "Ah!" And then that's when I realized that I came 1,300 miles from Chicago to hear this. Okay, so it gets worse again. So here's taking adrenochrome, you look like this. Not taking it, you look like this. Apparently, Mr. Cruz takes it because he's still young looking, but his co-star didn't take it and looks like this. And this was discussed for 2 minutes. And apparently, any woman with any power, of course, takes adrenochrome and is evil. If you don't take it, you look like this. You take it, you look like this. Or Ms. Pelosi. And their government leaders are substitutes. They're clones, replacements, or even lizard-like people running our government. And that these lizard people are really this way, what they really look like. And then here's Mr. Clinton. If you don't take it, you look like this. Even the Queen of England, who doesn't, if you don't take it, well, even really looks like this. And of course, she's on her 666th dose of it. And her grandson, Prince William, really looks like this. And this is what the Queen really looks like this, because the government is run by these people. And the alternate facts and classic quotes from this lady, that's classy without the CL in front of it. Biden and Putin have been dead for 2 years. Microwave ovens are dangerous. Nazis are now paying people to street protest. Hillary Clinton has killed 172 children. And young girls are given roofies, and I was directly asked what roofies are, then raped, and the resulting children are used for sacrifice. And this is when I started feeling nauseous. And that on their spaceships, on these alien spaceships, well, there are quantum computers, which they're real, and they have fantastic microprocessors on them, and they are used to skew results when people go into the vote in their balloting process, and that's why elections are screwed up and not accurate. And somehow or other, John F. Kennedy Jr. got into the conversation. He's been dead for 22 years, but he's still around orchestrating and organizing events. And that even the simplest gestures between world leaders become convoluted, heinous, evil plots. This is Putin giving Trump a soccer ball back in Helsinki summits. Well, and of course the soccer ball was filled with thumb drives about illegal Hunter Biden activities. I don't know why, please, I don't know why Putin just didn't go backstage, take a Walmart bag, and just fill up them and say, here are the drives instead. But it has to be some plot out of a James Bond movie or a Mission Impossible movie to make this thing work out. And the condensation trails you look when you look in the sky, those aren't condensation trails. Those are chemtrails. Excuse me. Those are chemtrails, a chemical to induce us to think all the same. And a powder called I'll probably mispronounce it, scopolamine, is a dangerous narcotic, evil powder that's used particularly in South America, which is why there is so much crime and drug and trafficking in South America, because this is used here. And it's a mind-altering drug. Okay, and she told of Operation Paperclip, which is where the U.S. enlisted the help of former Nazis, scientists in the 1940s, to help build rockets and bombs. That is, these men, some of them came from Nazi Germany and were used at army bases to help build rockets. And that the Nazis are still embedded in our government and are everywhere. So this is Operation Paperclip that brought Nazi scientists to America. On the other side here we have Operation Mockingbird, taken again from the movie series, which is a massive funneling of billions of dollars by the CIA to bribe corporate media to make all news stories uniform in content. The pronoun they was used over 40 times by her in less than 45 minutes. Furthermore, that the moon landing was a hoax and faked. The moon landing was really filmed in a studio. You can tell this because on the visor there's a man filming it here. And all those Apollo 11 through 17 missions that we all saw on TV that we were all excited about and had national pride about, why, that's all just dismissed, a wave of a hand. Just like the ancient Egyptians, wave of a hand and they're dismissed because they're too dumb. And we're too dumb too. With a wave of a hand, they take away millions of man hours to be able to make these, to be able to build this kind of, to be able to send rockets to the moon. Tens of thousands of people stake their whole careers on this, but just with the swipe of a hand, everything is castigated and put down because of this. And you just have to look on the astronaut's visor, and NASA really put on a show. This makes it a cruel joke for anybody who watched this and was really proud of our nations and the bravery that these men went out there to do, risking their lives. But all dismissed. Anybody can take a sledgehammer and knock your house down. Anybody can do that. But can you take a hammer and build your house? The answer is no. So, okay. So welcome to the mysterious paranormal universe where pareidolia reigns supreme. These fringe clubs take urban myths like monsters, ghosts, fourth-dimensional beings that go bump in the night and turn them into possibilities. And what I wanted to say is these fringe groups are really a hate group, and the best way to handle this is that it's, of course, it's good to have free speech here in the villages. We don't want to take away people's right to say things, and everybody has a right. But the issue then becomes, what kind of hate do we want to hear out here? Now we have 130,000 people out here, and there are beginning hate groups that are forming. We'll go into this. So these groups take urban myths and turn them into real possibilities. And they take, these fringe groups take like monsters like the Loch Ness monsters or the Yeti or the Abominable Snowman or Bigfoot and turn them into possibilities. And the tabloids say, so this person had Bigfoot's baby. And Bigfoot kept Lumberjack as a love slave. But I'm interested in is a long-time couple down here, but we won't get into that. But, so they create this macabre fantasy of all these ghosts. And the 2012 Club did something one time on elongated Mayan heads as evidence that there were aliens here. And these skulls do exist. And what happens is back in the day, when the Mayans were around about 1,300 years ago, they would bind the babies' heads Babies' heads are malleable, and then they form this way to make them prestigious or have nobility. Everybody wants to look at someone who has a head like this. So this is right out of the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull movie, these kind of heads. But the 2012 Club thinks that they're mystical, magical, and mysterious, and that we should pay attention to them when they're just a society doing something. 2012 Club also has about Incan mummies that were found that were dated 700 years back in the tall Andes Mountains, where in fact these were young girls taken up to mountaintops and were fattened up for a year, taken up to mountaintops, and then left to die of hypothermia or sacrifices to the gods. There's nothing intriguing or mystical about this. Rather, instead, it's just first-degree premeditated murder. Excuse me. Now we can see that these conspiracy groups use emotional hooks like tortured children, the loss of innocence, blood rituals, satanic powers, reptilian creatures, narcotics, convoluted world plots, racist vibes, Nazis, flying saucers, and aliens to grab our attention through sensationalism and degrade our intelligence. Sadly, these fringe clubs here prey on seniors who come out to the villages looking for hope, friendship, camaraderie, and what they get instead is false third-rate schlock. A lot of people come out here, and a lot of people are going through pain. Some people have personal medical problems. Some people come from a divorce. Some people have a loss of a loved one in their family. And some people are just depressed. And so they come to these clubs looking for catharsis, and what they find instead is just the opposite. These clubs will never be featured in the village's promo marketing videos sent to prospective seniors with cash to burn for new homes. It would be difficult seducing anybody coming here to hear about blood-drinking aliens. If so, then the living the dream drum chant would then be replaced by living the scream. Also, it must be hard for anyone having these extreme paranoid views to have fun or enjoy life. Simple everyday joys are replaced by fear and delusional thinking. The world is populated by these controlling aliens. So how do you have any fun? You take a grandkid out for an ice cream cone, and the reptilian creatures all around. Illuminati signs are all around. And you never can trust anybody. The government's covering up things. Anything that's done by the government to show any proof of anything is stored in a large warehouse, and no one can see them for decades, or if ever. Right out of Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark, by the way. So, what I was thinking was, instead of denying free speech, have these groups, have the rec department put a black box warning or a buyer beware warning on these particular groups. That way, free speech will not be curtailed. This is done by Facebook, by the way, Google, and some of them just take them right off in the first place, but I don't think that's right. In other words, newscasts do this too with fact-checking. If there isn't the fact behind it, they will question this, and that's what I'm asking. This is not the fourth dimension that they said would be. That's something a third grader would do to show that. Or it could be the fifth dimension, this 1970s singing group. To change gears now. Next up is Scientology, which is a religion, cult, and business with 100,000 to 200,000 members worldwide and less than 50,000 in the United States. And this is the Ocala Scientology office. They have offices all around the world. And what's going on here? This cult follows the books written by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, like Dianetics, shown here. Scientology followers believe that a human is an immortal spiritual being, or thetan, in a physical body. They're little like spirits inside, the spirit inside of us. The thetan had past lives preceding the thetan's arrival on Earth from extraterrestrial cultures. 20 million years ago, this alien life form called Xenu, according to Scientologists, then brought billions of aliens to Earth due to their own severe overpopulation problems. These thetans then were stacked near volcanoes to get rid of them and blown up by hydrogen bombs. But some of them that survived are inside us and are reincarnated throughout thousands of generations in the human species. And by the way, this Xenu character is a dead ringer for Ming the Merciless on the old Flash Gordon series that we probably used to watch. Same tailor, same bald head, same menacing look. Can they think of anything a little bit more original? So, anyways, to explain this more about a thetan, these thetans inside of us must free and leave ourselves from our bodies to be able to control rest, which is matter, time, energy, and physical space. And they must obtain their true universal potential. That is, we as humans are their vessels. These thetans are reincarnated in us and always seeking greater spiritual and physical freedom throughout the course of human generations. They then create their own universe, control others and objects, create illusions, and have no need of a host body once this is done, once becoming an omnipotent universal life force. So, these were books written by L. Ron Hubbard that exposed this, and you can see the volcano that blew up everything. And of course, there's no pictures, just cheesy illustrations. And if you don't get rich writing science fiction, you get rich starting a religion. This man here was a science fiction writer, a failed one, that got into religion and was recommended that he go into a psychiatric hospital. Remember, there's a fine line between genius and psychosis, and this guy, in my opinion, fell off the cliff. Okay, so in 1960s, Hubbard's cult became investigated by local, state, and national officials. In 1975, Hubbard tried to take over the town of Clearwater, Florida. He then went into seclusion and was convicted of money fraud with a 4-year sentence in 1978 in absentia by France. In the same year, 11 high-ranking Scientology officials were charged with 28 counts of espionage against the U.S. for trying to expunge or erase all public records of the cult. Hubbard spent his last years in seclusion. He died in 1984 at 74 and decided to drop his body and continue on another plane of existence. He is worth $26 million then. Worldwide, 350 million copies of his book sold. Scientology now has assets of $2.5 billion and rakes in $200 million yearly. This is another sad example of fraud dressed up in pseudoscience, pretend psychology, phony baloney mysticism, conspiracies, aliens, and melodramatic Flash Gordon Saturday morning TV serialized wannabe plots. It's just plain nonsense. And moving on then to another subject, astrology is up next. This concerns the movements and positions of celestial bodies dictated by one of 12 astrological signs. And of course, we all know our sign. Your planets then, visually a natal chart, that is these astrological signs or position of the sun and moon during our birth. This is called natal astrology. These special positions involve a horoscope that determines the subject personality, their life, and even their future. An astrology chart is like a map that provides planetary coordinates at the exact time of your birth. Visually, a chart with a 360-degree wheel is divided into 12 sections, like here. These are some of the signs. Your planets are plotted onto a wheel to see which sign they fall into. Astrologers interpret this map by looking at the interplay of all your astrological elements based on the archetypes that each sign represents. In reality, people cannot be pigeonholed into 12 different personality types. Even the Enneagram Club here sorts people into 9 different personality types. It's about not when you were born, but rather when you were conceived, in my opinion. So planets like, oh, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, they don't influence our life whatsoever. It's not in any way. You are responsible for what you feel, what you do, and what you think. Only the sun and moon, which aren't planets, affect our lives in obvious ways. There are 5 million web pages devoted to this. 38 million people in the U.S. spend $100 million a year on this false science, most of them women. Now, also the astrologers of the Villages Club makes yearly predictions about what's going to happen every year. So they predicted this in January of 2020, about over 20 months ago. Their predictions were printed in the January 2020 Daily Sun here, which I read. They foretold that a certain president would then be reelected based on his cosmic chart, citing him having a winner personality. No mention was ever made about a virus that would upend the world and cause 5 million people to die thus far. So, and everybody really wants to know about astrology is just, if you're going to predict the future, then tell us the Powerball numbers. That's what we all really want to hear. So, instead of these ridiculous ideas that really didn't happen at all, I have my own predictions that I'm going to print. So, 11 of my predictions: some natural disaster will happen, a famous person will die, Democrats and Republicans won't get along, a country will be invaded, professional baseball will become less boring, a large meteor will come close to Earth, a church official will go to jail, Alabama will be the last state at anything, dogs and cats can marry and get a mortgage, children will need to sign a 10-page consent form to play, and there will be a street in the Villages that goes straight. Okay, let's see if those happen. Okay, and I went to an astrology fair here in this building back about 4 years ago to check it out. And occult fiction, nonfiction books were sold there, and crystals, wearable charms, medallions, and scented candles were for sale. And the fair was mainly populated by women looking for spiritual guidance. Well, even mediums were set up to foretell your future, selling at $40 for a 15-minute session. In the end, these vendors laughed all the way to the bank. But what they did sell there are quartz crystals, and let me get one right here. And they sold these kind of crystals for a nice, pretty penny. And we were told, and are told, there's something called crystal therapy. What is that? Well, let's discuss this right now. Let's talk about crystal therapy, or New Age therapeutic use of placing crystals on your body to soothe, heal, and meditate. These crystals are made of quartz and, excuse me a second, resonate due to a vibration with their crystalline structure. That means that's why they used in watches, they vibrate just a bit. Crystal therapy, they vibrate with weak electromagnetic fields which we have in our body. Crystal therapy works for people who believe it will work for them. If you place this on you, you will get soothing, meditating feelings. Being told or sold an idea, our mind and body will be convinced that crystals will work for you. Quartz or silicon dioxide, SiO2, can help heal or repair any feeling unless you think so. For instance, Herkimer diamonds or fancy tapered quartz crystals are sold and used here by the Caregivers Reboot Club. Here is a way to physically heal frayed caregivers. And they are placed on your body, and then you meditate, and you're able to meditate with them. It's funny that that these are white, shiny, and clear, and we are addicted to things like that you can hold in your hand and have these qualities. Just take a look at your cell phone. So they are placed on your bodies here in different chakra points here, like on your forehead, your navel, your solar plexus, your navel, and other places. Gee, I thought chakra was the name of a exotic dancer at a men's club in Orlando. I guess I was wrong. But anyways, they're placed on your body and they eliminate negative thoughts with these kind of electromagnetic fields that don't look like that, by the way. So, let's talk about rose quartz. That is quartz that's really tinged pink because it has iron oxide in it. All right. Now, it is said that you place them on your body, they will provide you with better love relationships or self-confidence. And these situations, of course, are provided by your actions, not the stone. How ludicrous is it that a pink stone would help out a woman, and have a pink stone in the shape of a heart that's smooth and easy to deal with and concerned attracting love, and has all these kind of properties when it just has iron in it to tinge it pink? That's called fraud when you do that. These crystals do not promote forgiveness, love, or self-esteem. That's in your mind to do. Why they have crystals for everything? And after a while, they don't become crystals. They become things like obsidian, which is volcanic glass, moonstone, which is feldspar, or silicon hydrated oxides. And they're not crystals anymore, but they are just shiny, polished rocks used for lapidary concerns. You can get crystals for migraines, place them on your forehead or navel, crystals for grief, crystals for cancer to help you deal with it and meditate your way through it, crystals for exhaustion. Why? They have crystals for protection. Gee, when I was young, I thought protection was for not getting an STD, but I guess I was wrong. And there's crystals for mind chatter, crystals for addiction, and crystals for a passionate sex life with our famous rose quartz thing here. Now, being a geology major, well, this is iron pyrite, which is sulfur and iron, and it's really called fool's gold. To believe in any of this, you have to be a real fool. And so, if you can put them on people, can you put them on animals, your pets? Well, sure. Sure, you can put these crystals on your cat. Good luck with that. How long will that last? You can put them by your dog. And if you put them by your parrot, that'll help too. And if you did this, you'd be a real bird brain. So, the next subject, all these attributes, by the way, you have them inside you. You are the master of your own universe, not a bunch of silly stones that will be placed on a shelf 2 months after their use, collect dust, later on be played with by grandchildren, then sold at a garage sale, and then later on be put in a fish tank for decoration. So next up are GMOs, and I choose short subjects and then I'll be done. GMOs are genetically modified organisms, and there really are health conspiracies behind them. GMOs are genetically modified organisms which concern genetically altering food from their natural form to provide bigger yields, more resistance to agriculture, insect pests, and diseases, and producing more varieties of food from different kinds of environments. A huge natural food movement in this country believes that GMOs harm people, making them susceptible to a myriad of bodily ailments. In other words, there's protest movements about using these kind of foods. They claim that GMOs harm people and that they are frankenfoods, and if given to your children, will harm them. And again, Monsanto, or a large corporate organization that does this, again is connected with Satan, again Satan. And if you need to dress like this to grow it, you should need it. Okay, well, everybody has their opinion on this. And these are the GMO foods. Everything from tomatoes to corn to cotton to papaya to soy. These have been genetically modified. Now, the reason for this is, by the way, other people don't think it's a good idea. That is, they are altered too much and cause these kind of problems. But they are altered this way to feed a growing world. Many people think we should avoid them. How are you going to avoid all these products? You'll never be able to live. But farmers use GMOs to reduce the impact of agriculture on the environment. That is, they are grown to be bigger, more resistant to mites. We all know that a tomato from your backyard tastes delicious and is beautiful to have for supper and tastes great. And we all know that GMOs really should be labeled as such. But if you have hundreds and hundreds of acres of tomatoes, they're going to get mites. They're going to get diseases and pests real soon. So you need to spray for those or make organisms that are genetically modified to reduce these kind of infestations. And that's what GMOs do. And they are more sustainable to use. They cut down on all kinds of They help feed the world because our world just had 1 billion people 120 years ago, now has 8 billion people with less land. So how are you going to grow the food? You need to be genetically modified to do it. They are safe with all the studies, etc. Only problem with genetically modified foods is if you go to Whole Foods, or what I call whole paycheck, what's going to happen is this corn on the cob is going to cost $1. Okay, you can afford that. You're out here in the villages. This apple's going to cost $2. But if you're in sub-Saharan Africa, where you make $2 or $3 a day being a subsistence farmer, you want to bring home something other than a corn for your money, for your hard-working money. Half the people on earth are subsistence farmers and don't have what we have and only make a few $100s a year. So that is the problem with having these, the cost and sustainability. That means does it work? Lastly, and last subject that we'll cover quickly, concerns immunizations. That is to childhood immunizations like particularly the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, and the diphtheria, tetanus, and DTAP shots for whooping cough, and they are administered to children. Many, of course, they are used to prevent measles. No one wants to have a baby like this. So measles can be dangerous and can actually wipe out entire communities. And the same with whooping cough. That's why they have the TDAP, tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. That's why people have these shots to prevent this. This is preventable medicine. But many people think this is a plot, a way to put shots in their arm by big government. And they claim, these people against this, particularly out west, that, like Idaho, etc., Washington, that vaccinated children were more likely to have autism. And that they cause all kinds of problems inside of us, like brain damage, bowel disease, intestinal inflammation, or behavioral problems, or ADD. Many people think the government, doctors, and big pharma companies are in collusion to orchestrate foreign drugs to be forced into their kids' arms. And a whole myriad of conditions are people suspect to have happened when their kids are vaccinated. Of course, it isn't specific. What kind of cancer? What kind of anxiety? What kind of allergies? There's just too many really night terrors. And all these 40 different types of just putting a shot into your arm. That's called paranoia, but it's also about control. All these things we have talked about today are about controlling the world and organizing it. It has to do with controlling anxiety. This is a coping stress mechanism that people use. All these kind of plots that we've been talking about and collusions are in respect to thinking about that, how to organize the world and run it so it's less stressful. That's why people have these ideas. Of course, vaccines are the best to put in and prevent actually they prevent a myriad of problems. Vaccinated kids should imagine transmitting this at school or in communities. And people that have immunocompromised systems or didn't have shots actually can be susceptible to any kind of measles or diphtheria possible. So getting the facts is more important than believing in the myths. This whole presentation has been about facts and not beliefs. Beliefs are one thing, and it's fine to have them. Try to back it up with facts, and you'll be more informed. So over the decades, the evidence is quite clear that vaccines save lives. This overreaction is a response to who controls our lives. Actually, this whole lecture has been about fear of losing control. How we interpret an event can have consequences and can influence others in positive and negative ways. Thus, reality becomes a personal viewpoint. Hopefully, we can all get along with clear, lucid, rational thinking when it comes to decoding events we do not fully understand. And thank you. That is the end of my presentation.
Oh, thank you, Drake. You hit so many subjects. I had a question on each one, but your bottom line topic, how do you make your point in today's world where everybody has alternate facts?
Well, you just have to keep informing people that There's an alternate way to look at things, but it's not gonna be accurate.
But they believe it's accurate,
But
that's
they
the
believe
problem.
it's accurate, and fine to have the belief.
We're competing with each other here. Anybody want to offer any kind of rebuttal to any of those topics?
The